Yes. And now here we are. Welcome. Hello and welcome, my beautiful audience, to our fourth episode. Uh, and we have already been chatting a little bit with Gary before we actually started recording because
Mhm.
just in a secret, he was first time in podcast, and it's just my fourth, so I'm still very very fresh, but I'm
Mm.
so happy and lucky that I do believe in God. He's sending me his best angels to take care of me, and I feel always really like I'm just surrounded by so great friends with amazing vibes. So I feel myself. Sometimes English can be battling with Norwegian other language, but the heart language is more important. So welcome to next episode. Diversity is the game changer. And today
Yeah.
I am your host Valeria Yatnes, and this is the podcast where we explore how diversity shapes our world and drives meaningful changes. And that's why today I'm so thrilled and honored to host my very special guest who has a really, really diverse experience in so many ways. Thank you so much, Gary, for joining us today. Everything journey to this beautiful guy is
Thank you.
nothing short of inspiring. From starting at the mailroom of an Ivy League investment banking firm to becoming an executive vice president, overcoming life altering obstacles, and now venturing into the world of filmmaking. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Valeria. It's been such a pleasure meeting you and being invited on the show and stuff like that. I've never been on a podcast before. I got to admit, I'm kind of camera shy. A lot of people say, Gary, why don't you be an actor? You have a lot of depth and you have a lot of character and stuff. I kind of, I don't know. I'm like, I find my pleasure behind the camera. You know what I mean? I just find my pleasure behind the camera. But I said to myself, called my business partner. I said, "Do the podcast is today with Valeria and stuff like that." And at the end of the day, it's not really about having like, the perfect lighting or something like that, or maybe the perfect haircut or anything like that. It's more about the message that we're trying to get across the podcast. Some podcasts, they just talk about, stuff that doesn't matter and stuff like that. But I think what we're going to discuss today, it's going to resonate with our audiences because yeah, my experiences, and I know you've had experiences too, that they're worth sharing with others, and stuff like that. And they can inspire, and also they can be a warning too, because I tell people about some of the failures I've had too and how to avoid them.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I also feel that the equipment, technicality, all this lightning and all that stuff. Of course, I was asked when actually I pronounced that I'm going to open podcast. So I got so many questions about equipment, what kind of. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Maybe later when actually I feel really that I'm so good and my audience will be interested, so I can bother myself with technical. But now the most important, like you said, it's our messages, right? And
Yeah,
it's hard language. So even if we sometimes don't say and don't pronounce the words right, it doesn't matter. We're all different. That's why we are so interested to each other, right? We are
yeah,
rainbows.
that's right.
But and because I believe the storytelling, they are so meaningful to our people and they resonate deeply with ourselves, right? That
Yeah,
it doesn't matter where we live, what we are doing, we are just human beings and we have obstacles, and that's why our episode today
yeah.
names overcoming obstacles. But before that, we're coming to the really major obstacles in your lives. I would like to have the beginning from the little Gary. Gary, actually, probably I forgot your name to tell the audience. It's of course this Vanessa, beautiful guy, but I forgot your name. It's Gary Familathe.
Yeah, when my family got to Ellis Island from Italy, they it was Gary Famiglietti. And my grandfather on the Italian side thought Familathe sounds more American. We called it Familathe. So he changed our name to Familathe.
Okay, but in this continuation about the family, could you please tell us about the little Gary boy, his aspirations, his dreams and goals, and how actually childhood of the little Gary influenced the adulthood of the
Thank,
Gary who
thank
is
you.
now in front
Thank you.
of the camera?
Yes, thank you. It's been a long after a 20-year marriage. I have a 17-year-old son, and my career stuff. It's so long ago, but if I think back, my earliest memory was when my dad was in the Air Force. He got back to America from Germany. We used to live in Germany when I was a little boy. And the Germans came to visit us, and I went back to Germany. I was 12 years old. But when I got to Los Angeles, I was maybe just a little kid. And I went to a special preschool uh,
Okay.
for military children that my dad sent me to in Long Beach. I used to watch the birth of a calf. You know, a mother cow would give birth to the calf. You know,
Yeah.
and it was a very special place. You know, it was like amazing place, an open area, and it was a magical place for children. And I think it helped me launch me into kindergarten, which wasn't as successful. I was part of the Los Angeles Unified School District, and you know, Los Angeles has a reputation for a reason. Um, it
Mhm.
can get a little rough out there on the schoolyard. I was telling my buddy about that. At school, when I was in school, they used to have the king of the school, they used to call it in Los Angeles, and he was the guy that could beat everybody up in the whole school, you know?
Mm.
So that culminated into, surviving that and stuff. And then the gangs got pretty bad in the late 80s. And then the introduction of crack cocaine, rap,
Mm.
gangster rap music, it all fueled a movement. I'll be honest with you. When the movie Colors came out from Dennis Hopper, it glamorized the gangs and stuff like that. And in turn, it reflected on the streets of Los Angeles with the Crips, the Bloods. Now Los Angeles has more street gangs than any other city. My cousins that stayed in Los Angeles, they joined gangs and stuff, and they went to penitentiaries and they killed people, did all this stuff. But my dad moved us to Palm Springs. He got in the music business, so I'm hanging out with big country clubs and the clubhouse and having a steam, eucalyptus steam, playing tennis, racquetball, you know, and things like that. You know,
Mhm.
so my dad got in the music business. He did the Beach Boys, Jefferson Airplane. He started doing concerts, and he started the first rock and roll station in Palm Springs, The Rock. So then I went to Palm Springs High School, and then yeah, school was pretty cool. And then my parents had a divorce in my senior year of high school. And what was odd about it was I was used to a pretty good, solid upbringing. You know, mom, dad, apple pie, white picket fence, pretty normal. But
Mhm.
when that happened in my senior year of high school, I told my dad they were getting different apartments, and I wasn't done with high school yet. And I said, "Can I come live with you?" And they were having some problems, and my mom was like, "Oh, you go live with your dad." And when I talked to my dad, he said, "Oh, go live with your mom." So I said to myself, "Oh, what am I going to do?" So I went and
Mm.
talked to a friend of mine. A friend of mine used to fish in Alaska. He'd been there one season, and he went to Seattle, and he worked on boats and helped people, and he got a job. So he said, "Why don't you come up there with me, Gary, and we'll get jobs?" And I go, "It's not for sure, but okay." So I borrowed the plane ticket money from my dad, flew up,
Okay.
flew up to Seattle.
Okay.
It was when grunge rock was going. You know, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, um, Stone Temple Pilots. There was so many great bands coming out of there. I watched great bands, and I was in my my 18, 19 years old, you know, not one gray hair. And I was,
Mhm.
you know, and we beat the docks. We worked for we slept on boats. We slept in abandoned hotels all the way to the Canadian border. We hit every single fishing dock. We started in Ballard near Seattle. So after
Mhm.
30 days and a lot of wild adventures up to the Yukon and back down, we came to the original dock we were at. And the word got out that I'm Italian, and somebody got out the word that I could cook. I only know how to make spaghetti, but they said I could cook, right? So
Mhm.
a Norwegian captain walked up to me. He was the captain of the Seagull, and they were going to Alaska. And he said, "I heard you're an Italian cook." And I said, "Okay, yeah." And he goes, "You want to go to Alaska?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "Go get your bags and put it on the Seagull. You're going to be my cook."
Okay. Wow.
Now, what that meant was I was actually the cork man too. When the net goes in the water, the corks make it float on, the corks. You see the corks on a net. Well, when it goes up onto the boat, you have to stack the corks. I was the cork man. Then you have the web man for the net, and then the lead man, and then the captain. But I also had to cook. I had to buy all the supplies for the guys. We got a couple barrels of rum, cartons of cigarettes before we left. I had to get all the supplies for the guys, you know. And I learned fast. And my Aunt Eileen sent me some recipes to the cannery because I was nervous when I got to Alaska. I ran out of recipes. So my aunt sent me some recipes. They got mad at me one night though, because I made macaroni and cheese and tuna. for a bunch
Mhm.
of fishermen, commercial fishermen in Alaska. They almost threw me over the side of the boat. So I learned some things about people, and I made it through, and I got back with about $15,000 for a couple months of work. It was felt like the biggest payday ever. Um, I got a plane ticket. I went back to Palm Springs. I said, Dad, everybody's so proud of me. Look, my mom, oh, you made it, my boy. You know, you're a man now. After 2.5 months, I'm a man. Okay, whatever. I mean, but it did add an extra element of character to me at 18 years old, because I realized that what I survived and went through was, I mean, we got storms. We had a killer whale to go in the net one time when they're dolphin safe nets. Dolphins are smart. There's a hole in the side of the net. The fish purse up against one side of the net, but the dolphin knows to get out of the hole. Well,
Mhm.
this baby killer whale, we were in a storm. There's a $30,000 net. It started to pull the boat under, Valeria. And we was in a storm. The back of the boat started going under the water. We started sinking, and an alarm started going off. Ding, 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 ding. So the only way to save us, he got an axe. The captain, he was getting ready to cut a $30,000 net, a brand new net. We would have had to go back to Seattle. And at the last minute, that baby killer whale found the hole, the dolphin safe hole, and must have swam out of the net, because all of a sudden, the alarm went off and the boat stabilized. It stabilized, you know? And I've been in a,
I think Gary, I am so enjoying your storytelling, and I feel terribly now because I really sometimes need. I I will be in the urge to interrupt you a little bit because I
no,
have
it's okay.
you're so interesting person. I have so much I want to ask you, and I want to actually our listeners would like to get more
A fuller
about you.
picture. I understand. Yeah. But that's how it started out. That was my introduction into manhood.
But can you then smoothly, because next questions, if you can go a little bit more briefly through your actually fantastic career without college degree, how you start from mailroom. But actually, no, when I made the interview guide, I didn't know actually what actually means mailroom for me. I
Oh,
so, but for me, that's why it's even more interesting for me. Can you then give us the picture about your finance career then
sure.
after cooking and fisherman's career? Oh my
Yeah,
god!
man. I came back with money. I had some money in my pocket, and the money started running out. I started running out of money. So I said, oh, man. And I had some family. My had a presence in San Francisco for a lot of years because my family started the International Longshoremen's Warehousemen's Union. And they're the second largest labor union after the Teamsters. My uncle Ray Familathe, was the president of the union for many years. My uncle Rocky was one of the charter members to start the union. Well, my dad didn't want to be a longshoreman. He wanted to be an entrepreneur, salesman. So he broke away and became an executive. And I followed him too. I didn't want to be a longshoreman either. They all told me, Gary, what are you doing? You can make $80,000 a year and have the best medical and a pension and a solid union job.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it wasn't me. So I went up north. I was sleeping on the couch of a friend's house, and I needed a job. And he said there was a job in a mailroom. So we were going to the same church. And I said, great. So I started the mailroom. And I remember the shoes I had on were like a mail. When I say mailroom, Valeria, it's like your the postage, the mail that comes, the paper
Oh,
mail.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we sort the mail in the morning, and then we deliver it to the different departments: corporate finance, research, the trading floor. The 12th floor was the trading floor. It was hectic, um,
Mm-hmm.
corporate finance, research and development, payroll. So I did it for 2 years. I learned every single department of an investment bank in San Francisco. The number
Mm-hmm.
two finance center after New York in America is San Francisco, number two finance center. So,
Wow.
yeah, so I started to learn a lot, but they wouldn't give me a job as a broker assistant. They kicked me in the mailroom. And it was kind of 2 years went by. So I said, how am I going to do this if I want to do this with no degree? I got to become a broker's assistant to learn the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a firm down the street that was actually a family friend of ours, and our Italian friends owned it, called H.J. Myers. They had 16 branch offices nationwide. So I called from the 12th floor one day, Valeria. I called from the break room, and I called my
Okay.
friend in New York. I called my friend, and I said, I'm never going to get a job here. I didn't go to Harvard or Yale. I'll never get a job, even as an assistant. Do you think I could go work down there as an assistant at your office there in California Street? He goes, call me back in 5 minutes, Gary. This is
Okay.
real good family friends, you know. I call back in 5 minutes and he said, go down there and talk to Angel Cruz and you have a job. I was ecstatic. I was shocked. I went down the next day and I met Angel. I quit. I didn't give him 2 weeks notice. I quit the mailroom. I walked out of there. And it was funny because the guys in the mailroom used to laugh at me when I'd be sorting mail. They'd say, I go, you know, I want to be a stockbroker. I'm going to be a stockbroker. And they said, what stockbroker? Ha ha ha. Yeah, right. You're going to be a stockbroker. Did you hear what he said? They threw a piece of mail, hit me in the face. And I said, you know what? Someday I'm going to come back here. And I did.
And
About 2 years after about a year after I became a broker. Now, becoming a broker, I had to work 2 years as a sales assistant, pass the Series 7 and 63, open up 40 accounts, give them to my mentor, and then I earn my sales desk, 100% commission. Whatever dollar you make, you pick up the phone and generate it. You're an inside sales professional, an executive. I had an assistant to go get my chicken Caesar salad, my dry cleaning, and go ahead and get yourself something too. I had a pretty secretary. She was married, but she was a pretty secretary. Every man wants a pretty secretary, right? Hi,
yeah,
okay. You know, how you doing? Okay, the check came. Okay, no problem. Tell him I'll call him back. Okay, great. I had my trader who was he could buy anything at the market. It was on the firm's account. So if I wanted 1,000 shares of Microsoft, all I had to do is, Bob, give me 1,000 MSFT at the market. You got it, Gary. Boom. But I had to cover the trade the next day. So it was very interesting coming from the mailroom. Now I earn my way up. I'm an executive. I have an assistant. I have a secretary. I have a trader. I could leave and go, come and goes when I want. I have a travel agent. I go on. I'm not taking the subway anymore. I go out on California Street. Taxi. I'm eating better. I'm dressing better. Life's better. You
yeah.
know, life's better. Yeah.
That's remarkable, Gary. And it's for me, it's a testament to grit and determination. How
Yeah.
you can really decide something, and it's about, yes, like I mentioned, grit and resilience. And actually, speaking about resilience,
Yes. Yes.
I know you faced a life-altering challenge when you were in coma for 6 days due to the COVID, right? You were
Yeah.
sharing with me already, and I know that. That's why, and I was asking about your permission to raise up this subject. Can you please share with us your experience and how this has changed you? That's very
Okay.
powerful.
Yeah. Okay.
Did this
I love
experience
this.
influence your decision to move into filmmaking?
Okay. Well, this is the one out of all the stuff I told you. To me, this is overcoming the obstacles of the past, being a broker and stuff like that. That had its challenges. It did, but I was no longer younger anymore when I got my first surgery. I was about say in my mid 40s. You know, so I was already past a man's peak physiologically is in his mid 30s. Most
Mm,
bodybuilders are in their mid 30s. A man peaks out physiologically. Uh, and I remember when I was 35, I told my dad, I was like, I'm in my prime, Dad. I had a freaking Christmas tree thrown over one shoulder and my son in the other. I mean, I was, you know. So anyway, I the investment banking business is stressful. I
mhm.
remember I got my first white hair as a broker assistant. My scalp got warm one time on the trading floor, and I went in the bathroom, Valeria, and my scalp was warm. And I was young. I was only about 21, 22. And I went in the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I go, what is that?
What is that? Oh
Oh,
God! Welcome.
a white hair. Oh
No,
my gosh.
no
Yeah.
way.
So that was my first white hair. I started to develop some stomach problems from the stress and stuff like that. Maybe it's because that job. I'm not sure, but I've developed diverticulitis. It's a it's a thing inside your intestines. It's like little pockets, like that catch waste. It doesn't go all the way through, and it starts to fester, and it creates an abscess. Well,
Mhm.
I had two abscesses on my back. They were the size of Nerf balls, filled with pus. Basically, they had to go and you know take out the abscess, drain the abscess. That was my first nursing home. So then when
Mhm.
I went to my surgeon, Ruben Osorio, he goes, Gary, you have diverticulitis. It's never going to go away. He goes, I can go in there, a small incision. We can take out the little diverticulitis. I looked in the chart, and we sew it back up, and you go home Everything's fine. In a few days, you'll be fine. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. That's what he told me, Larry, that I was
Mm-hmm.
going to be fine in a couple days.
Couple days, yes. This
Yeah, yeah,
couple days became.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
5 years. You know, I want to tell you specific things about this because I know we do. There's a time factor with this and stuff like that. Okay. So basically, what happened was on August 15th, 2020, I was actually on the phone. I'm not dating this woman anymore, but I was actually dating a woman in Los Angeles, and she was on the phone with me before the first surgery. And I made her laugh because I told her, I said, I want to have bacon and eggs right now. And she goes, Gary, you're having stomach surgery. You want bacon and eggs? And
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted bacon and eggs that morning. But anyway, I did this first surgery. When I woke up, Valeria, from the surgery, they said, uh, we had problems with the surgery. And I said, problems? What do you mean? They said, we have to go back in there. We were able to staple your abdomen, but we weren't able to seal it inside. We have to go in there and seal it. I said, it's not sealed? Okay. So it was kind of strange. So went in for another surgery about a day or two later, and they said, it still won't seal. Your abdomen won't seal. We have to do another surgery. And this is the third surgery, right? I'm already at the hospital for now about 2-3 weeks.
Oh my God.
So after the second surgery, the nurse said, you should get up, Gary, go walking around. Nobody was wearing masks. It was right before the pandemic hit. Now, here's how it happened. I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'll go for a walk. I go walking in the hallways. Hey, how you doing, Gary? You looking good. You're walking. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next day, doctor came in the room and he goes, okay, we're going to do the third surgery, but it looks like you've caught a virus called COVID.
Oh,
And I said,
okay.
COVID? What is a COVID? He goes, well, you have COVID. He said, you'll start to get, maybe have signs in your breathing and stuff like that. I did notice my heart harder to breathe. And
Mm-hmm.
I started to basically go into full COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first variants were very strong. They killed a lot of people. I
Yeah.
watched a lot of people die from the first variants. The virus got weaker. Sorry for moving this around a lot. I'm trying to get the right. I'm holding the phone up. Um, the virus got weaker the longer the virus was alive. And I told my buddy today on the phone, I said, it even had a citrusy smell to it. You know that? The virus itself had a citrusy smell. I was in the middle of the most chaotic time of the pandemic. I was in the trenches, in the hospital. I saw, the amount of death and 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 suffering and tragedy was constant, and it was around me. And I
Yeah.
was isolated. I was in a room with no windows for months, and I was on liquid food. They put an IV with no solid food, just a bag of white liquid. That was my food for months. And I could only have a half cup of ice chips every 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand, I got thirsty and stuff, and they catch me bringing out a wash rag just to get a few drops of water because I was so thirsty. I went through weird things like that. But anyways, it got worse, and I slipped into the coma. I was on 30% of my own oxygen on a ventilator. I remember it breathes for you. It's like, shh. And the nurse came in when I was in the ICU with the ventilator on, and
Mm-hmm.
she came and she put a cup on a table. All the hospital rooms are the same. And when she put the cup down, it's what I told you. The whole sixth floor was the floor of death. Started to go down like an elevator.
Yeah.
The whole floor. And then I went on the Odyssey for the coma was like, I'm gonna put it in my book, stick a COVID story on Audible on 2026. I want to release it next year, but it's going to be 2026, probably first quarter. My Audible will come out, the book about the whole thing, the Odyssey I went on, the coma. Then I told you how I woke up from the coma, and then they had to electroshock my forehead for 3 days, and then I opened my eyes, and I saw the crucifix. I saw Jesus, and I said, "Okay, thank you. You brought me back." So half of me was happy to be back. I get to see my son again because that was my biggest regret when I died. Because I died. I was okay when I hit the bottom floor, the sixth floor. I thought I died, and I was okay with it. But the last thought was my son. I said, oh, I'm not going to be able to see my boy grow up. So when I
Oh,
came back, it was kind of like, what? I'm alive? Like, I was happy, but I kind of didn't know how to go about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it took time. Now I have a hole in my stomach. Now I'm going to the bathroom in a bag, an ostomy bag. And they told me, it's only temporary, Gary. You're not going to have the bag for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. And they were going to do a reversal surgery. But because of the amount of trauma that my abdomen has had, 17 surgeries and 11 infections, 11 nursing homes I've been to for E. coli infections, surface infections. But I started to look at characters, men who had this bag, and I said, well, who are some men that had the same thing, and what did they do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I found out Dwight D. Eisenhower, one of the greatest generals of World War II, had an
Mm-hmm.
ostomy bag. I started to find out that one of the Bush brothers, Marvin Bush, he has one. And what really got me, Valeria, and what motivated me to not crush me, but rise above into something new, become a new Gary,
Yeah.
a force to be reckoned with. Okay, a force to be reckoned with. I could stand alone because I've been isolated and I've been through so much trauma that you can't hurt me anymore. You can't hurt me anymore.
You're
It's
becoming invincible. Yes.
you can't hurt me. I already died. I'm not afraid of death. I've been there already. I know what it's like. I'll tell you all about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, what is my new, and then I found out about Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yes. Yes.
I'm part French. My great grandmother was actually part of the royal family in France. She married a Hispanic man who was my great grandfather, and that's why my mom is part French and part Hispanic. But I looked at Napoleon and I said, Napoleon had an ostomy bag? He went back to the bathroom in a bag that was made out of lambskin. And do you know that Napoleon, with that bag,
Mm-hmm.
he was still able to get Josephina, who he loved very much, and he also controlled a larger land empire than the Romans.
Oh my God, Gary. Thank you so
So,
much for sharing this incredible.
so I
I'm
said to
so touched.
you want
I'm
to talk, you want to talk about overcoming obstacles?
yeah.
I had to stand alone after a divorce. She got 4 years custody. I lost everything, every dime to my name. And then I had all these surgeries, comas. You couldn't put more on me. There was a point I went past where I didn't even understand it. I've never been to this level of misery and pain. It was foreign to me. I had to deal with it. I had no choice. So I leveled up instead of going to hide in the corner and I'm a man, damn it. I'm not gonna go if it's time to fight for the women and children. I grab a sword and a freaking shield. So I said to myself, Gary, this is going to turn you into one badass, or it's going to crush you and ruin you. Well, I decided to level up. So I met a girl on LinkedIn, going through all this stuff. I met a girl from the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Ivana, and what caught my attention about her, I was in the hospital reading this girl's comment. There was a man in there complaining about his life, his responsibilities at home, his wife, his kids, and basically domestic BS. It's
Yeah.
not even really challenging, okay? Put you on a fishing boat in Alaska in a storm. Have a client back out on a $110,000 trade you did the day before and you got to cover it. Shit like that. That's stress. Going
Mm-hmm.
into a coma, think you're dying, that's stress. But what this guy was talking about wasn't really stress. So
Mm-hmm.
she went in the comments and she insulted him. She made him look like he was a little man. She goes, you don't know anything about pain. You don't know anything about suffering or loss. I'll tell you a story about suffering and loss.
Mm-hmm.
Valeria, she went on to tell me one of the most amazing stories of tragedy and hope I've ever heard in my life in a LinkedIn comment. She messaged me, we connected. She messaged me in the email, and I said, "Oh, Ivana, what is this story?" She put in the comments. I said, "It's amazing." I said, "People got to know about this." Basically, one morning when she was with her friend, and they were going to her friend's parents' house because the dad just got promoted.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I have a call coming in. Let me. Okay. That dad got promoted, so they're going to take a ride in this new SUV, Mercedes SUV. He was the manager of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
So they go, okay, let's go for a ride. We're going to go for a ride in the Ukraine in the backwoods, and they all got in the car. The dad, the mom, Ivana,
And the other one
Darina.
told me.
You know,
young brother as well.
Yeah, and the brother was in the back seat, and they went out for a ride. It was good, positive. It was happy times. He just got promoted. They're singing, they're listening to music, they're celebrating. Well, it was a time when the Russians first occupied the Ukraine, not this time, but the first time. They came into the country very clandestine, and not only a lot of people knew about it, and even the media. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, even though they were having a fantastic day, they rode up on a cow pasture, an open field, and they saw some Russian vehicles, and it kind of threw them off. And then they had a Russian truck behind them, so they had to pull over.
Yeah.
Well, the Russians, they approached the vehicle, and they started to harass the dad. A fight started to ensue. It got really tense. The dad screamed out to them, "You guys got to run! They're gonna rape you. They're gonna do something bad." So the dad got out of the car, and the Russians pretty much just put a single bullet in his head. So that was shocking to everybody. After they're celebrating a great day, the dad just got promoted, and now he's gone. Um, so the Russians went on to kill the mother. The mother got out of the car. She was ecstatic. Her husband just got killed. She was frantic. They killed her. The brother got out of the car and he ran towards the Russian soldiers. "You killed my family." They gunned down the brother. So now there's two girls left. It all happened so fast. Ivana said, "Gary, time stopped. I was in the back seat of that car, and Darina got out on her hands and knees at her mom's body. There's blood and brain matter all over her, and she's crying at her mom's body on the ground. It happened fast, Valeria." So Ivana said, "Time stopped." Ivana's in the back seat of the car. She said, "I got to get out of the car," because the Russian walking up to the car was saying, "Come on, get out of the car." He goes, "What did he say?" He goes, "I'm going to split this bitch in half." She told me he said that. They were getting ready to rape these girls after they killed everybody. So they were pretty ruthless. So Ivana got out of the car. And as the Russian soldier walked up to the car, he set his AK-47, he leaned it against the car. Ivana never used an AK-47 before ever in her life. She picked up the gun, she took off the safety, and she gunned down 4 Russian soldiers. The last one wasn't dead yet. She had to finish him off with a bayonet.
Hmm.
She stuck it inside his chest and went down to the dirt, and he died. So now she's a different person. Okay, this is just a few hours earlier they were celebrating in the kitchen. Now she's a fugitive. She's running from the Russians. She just killed a bunch of Russian military men. It was very intense. So she told Darina, "Go in the truck, get some weapons. We're going to put them in the back seat, and we're out of here." She
Hmm.
became this leader. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
she didn't have a choice. She didn't
No.
have a choice. She had to be this person out of her
Yeah.
instinct. It was amazing story to me. I said, this has to be told to somebody. People have to hear this because it's really gonna, I don't know, it's just gonna provoke thought. I don't know what it was, Valeria. I thought I have to be the man to tell people this story, whether it's a book or any kind of media form. Felt compelled to do it. I even told her, I said, if I die trying to make this into a film, I'll do that. I said, I give you my word. Before she died of a brain aneurysm, I gave my word that I would do anything in my power to get this story out to the people, And I know the first thing how to do it, but I will find a way. Like I found a way to be a broker and a commercial fisherman and a dad and all that stuff. You got to figure shit out. So I'm sorry. So yeah, yeah, it's just so much happened, and they got in the car, they took off, they went to an aunt's house, and eventually there was a crash, plane crash locally. The Australians had a plane crash, and they helped get him into federal protection in Australia. That's when I met her, and she told me this fantastic story. She died of a brain aneurysm, but before she died, she signed over the rights to the story to me.
And
It was
can you
very,
tell us, because yes, we have
yeah,
not much time, but first of all, I would like really to say that that's so powerful, and for you, I believe also
yeah.
when you came from your coma, and of course, and for yourself and for your family, for all beloved ones and the son, but maybe the God gave you special mission
Mm,
about really life impact, about with help of creative shift and to really give this storytelling coming through
Yeah.
to all the world. So
Yeah.
that I'm just opening a little bit the curtains. I know
Yeah.
that now is happening about this story and your promise is coming true. So can you please tell about the process now?
Sure, sure. And thanks for kind of giving it structure and stuff because I can all my friends know I can be a little long-winded sometimes. My family's from Naples. They're known for pizza and talking with their hands, and
Yeah,
that's how they are Napolitan. So,
yeah.
okay, so Valeria, definitely. So I said to myself, well, how the heck am I going to do this? So I got on the phone and I just started calling people in film. I didn't even know who to call. If it said film, I call them. I did call them and they, what do you call me for, Gary? I'm not a producer. I'm not a this. I'm not that. Well, what does that person do? What does this person do? What does that mean? While I was in nursing homes and hospitals, I started to, research this. And I said to myself, okay, well, I have the story. Ivana gave me the story. And I wrote the rough draft of the first original script. I wrote it.
Hmm.
And I knew I needed a writer if I needed a script because I knew I didn't know anything about films, but I knew every film needs a script, right?
Right.
And so we need a script first, a professional script. So I started going out and talking to writers, and every writer wanted money up front because I tried to offer them a deal. Write me a script. Whatever we make off it, we split 50-50 and we'll put it in writing. I'll promote the project and we'll do it that way. I went
Hmm.
through a couple one writer, he died in the pandemic and we were about not halfway, but quarter way through. He was a pretty big writer, a WGA writer in Hollywood. But I came across a man named Eric White in Florida and he loved the project. He not only wrote a fantastic script for us, a copywritten script, he also
Hmm.
put up some of the original development funds for the project as far as uh, the copyright, the WGA, the Writers Guild thing, different things like that. He put money into the line budget. He even paid for a line budget, a pitch deck. Him and I eventually had a falling out. We had a disagreement, and he didn't think I had what it took to, to produce films. That's like those guys in the mailroom, Valeria. Remember the guys that told me I couldn't be a stockbroker?
Yes, right, right.
Now this man's telling me I can't produce films. What does Gary do when people tell him he can't do something?
Yes,
He does it, right?
exactly.
Exactly.
To green light and to
So I
guess.
did what I do. I did what I do. I go, okay, here we are, another obstacle. Okay, Eric, I quit. Well, do you realize what this is going to do, Gary? We're going to fight it out for this intellectual property. I own half of this. Da 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 da. Okay, well, look, yeah, I don't. I like the fact he's disrespecting me. Everyone else around me in my network knows I can do this, but you're having doubts. I'm gone. So I walked. And I walked away from the film business for maybe a couple years. I didn't even want to deal with it. We had the script and everything. I met great mentors, but I was in an Uber in Hollywood with my son not too long ago, about 6 months ago.
Hmm.
And I met an Uber driver who has a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, and he has a studio and a production company. And I said to myself, why are you driving an Uber in Hollywood, right?
Yes,
And you know what he told me? He goes,
to
Gary,
meet you.
Gary, how do you think I built my whole company? How do you think I got the Warner Brothers deal with Discovery? How do you think I did it all, Gary? I go, in an Uber in Hollywood? He goes, yep. Everybody rides Uber in Hollywood. He goes, I met stars ride. He goes, I've met, for crying out loud,
Wow.
he's all kinds of production people, studio heads. Sometimes they take an Uber. I take Uber sometimes to Hollywood. It's $100, but it's great. I don't have to worry about it. It takes me right to the front of the hotel. I walk in and check in. Whitley. I like to stay in Whitley neighborhood. Um, so when I have to do business in town and stuff. So we have a script now. I'm no longer with the studio, but when he told me that, something inside me, I said to myself, and I told him, I said, do you think I should get my project going again? Because I told him about my project I was working on. He goes, yeah, Gary, you should approach the writer and tell him that you want to, get his money and you still want to do this, even if he wants to sell his thing. He gave me a plan. So I went back and I talked to a few of my mentors, Jonas Barnes, shout out. If anybody's watching this, Jonas Barnes for Paramount, Steve Longi, who won an Academy Award for Heartbreak Ridge. I started to talk to some of my mentors in the film business and they said, One person called me my top mentor, Jonathan Thompson at Movie Venture International. He's been a child actor since he was a little boy. 25 years he's been in films. This is a real producer. There's been films he's made before where he owed money on the film. Though he didn't make money, but he had to make the film so bad he wanted to make it, Valeria, that he owed money afterwards. You know,
Yeah.
but he had to make the film, and I understand that as a producer now, even though I've been doing it for just less than 6 months. Unless you absolutely want it more than anything, you're just not going to have a chance at success in this. You have to really want it. If you want to take the long lunches and vacations and all that stuff, great. But if you're early in your career and you're trying to build up your career, it's it's time consuming. You have to love it. If you don't love it, you're not going to last. So Jonathan calls me out of the blue. Things start happening like this. He calls me. My son goes back home with his mom, and Jonathan calls me and goes, "Gary, haven't talked in a while. How's things going with your stuff with Eric, that film project?" I said, "Well, I met a guy in Uber, Jonathan, who has a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, and he told me he thinks I can produce films. He said I thinks I got what it takes." And Jonathan goes, "I've always told you that, Gary." He goes, "Why don't you come over and raise money for my films at Movie Venture International as an executive producer? And when we raise the money for that, we can maybe approach Eric and we can do the other film." It shocked me. No one in my life. The last time I was shocked like that was when I passed the Series 7 exam and I went in the office, and when the senior vice president in the bank told me, he put his leg up on the desk and he looked at me. And a lot of young men think about if this happened to them, but it happened to me. He looked at me and he said, "Okay, Gary, what do you want?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said it like, I could ask for a lot. You know, I was on an investment bank on California Street. It's 16 branch offices. The guy that asked me the question made between $30,000 to $50,000 a month, sometimes $100,000 a month.
What do you
Uh,
want?
MBA from Wall Street. "Gary,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want? You passed the Series 7 exam. Good job. What do you want?" That was an interesting question, because what could this man give me? I'm a Christian man. I mean, I've been the king and I've been the fool. What could you give me? A car. I mean, once you drive any car, if it's a Mercedes, a Jaguar, I've drove them all. After a while, it's just a car. You can wear all the clothes in the world. I've had them all. I've had the watches and all that shit. After a while, it's just clothes. You realize. I started to really understand wealth and stuff like that, and even the people that come around when you start to make money and stuff. There used to be girls out in the lobby just waiting for brokers to come out. They used to collect around the bars. It was like they were groupies or something. It was crazy. I watched women do things that they never would have done, be with guys they never would have been with, just because of the money. And I learned it was like an education in money. So anyway, um,
But
I
can you
said, yeah.
give us the brief summarizing where
I
what
said,
this
I said
process?
yes. I told Jonathan, I said yes. I said, "Okay, Jonathan, you have faith that I can do this?" He said, "Of course I do." And Valeria, I've been in it for 4 months. I teamed up with a guy where we're going to join our companies next year into one company. There's an Academy Award winner reading one of my scripts right now that I'm an executive producer with another film. We're working on 5 projects. We just had the casting director of Lord of the Rings read one of our scripts. She emailed me this morning. I I have an Academy Award winner's number, and I could pick up the phone right now when I hang up with you, and I can text a guy that won an Academy Award. That just blows my mind. There's another Academy Award winner, Universal, who I'm going to pitch a sci-fi project to in January. I signed a deal with a studio, the first studio I signed with, Stella Nova Studios. Hi, Robert. Um, about a week ago, I showed my son Victor the screenshot. That's what I'm celebrating right now. We just signed our deal with the first studio, Stella Nova. We're going into a big slate next year. We have the Ukraine project we talked about a little bit. We touched on. There's a lot going on, and some people are like, "Well, what did you produce, Gary? What'd you produce? Yeah, what'd you produce? When'd you go to Alaska? When you're the broker, right? It's the same thing, right? I'm not worried. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about it, Valeria, because next year when we were in the movie theater and we're laughing, eating popcorn, where's that person at? Where's he at? Where's he at? The guy that wants the proof. Well,
Exactly.
Gary, what'd you do? Oh, hey, there he is. Hey, I did it. Yeah,
I
we're watching the movie right now. I produced it. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. And you know what? All the new friends, all the women, all the goodies, and all those fake people are waiting at the finish line. They're waiting for me. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for everybody. But you know what? You got to ask yourself, we could end it off like this. Are those really your friends? That's the main thing I learned all through all this, Valeria, is that who's really there. When I look to my left, I look to my right, I look up, I look down, nobody's there. Whoever's there left after it all, that's your friend.
exactly, and
Mhm.
I'm so happy now that uh,
Yeah, that's your friend.
after after overcoming all these obstacles, right? It can be like you said, after a while you just understand that this huge amount of money, somebody really believe it's important to buy clothes and everything, but it's still clothes and everything. But the values you are really, the values that shape in your heart and your inner beauty, your inner attraction, and they still there. And people who really are your people, they know it doesn't matter how you transform even physically, right? They value completely not. And I'm so happy also. I've been through so many obstacles, and especially lately, because now our last segment we are talking about, it's about diversity, but you already gave us all example, not through very special terminology like
Mhm.
diversity, because I think the most important it's actually not theory but empathy, really story, real story, real people, and of course due to
Yeah,
your diversity, flexibility, determination, amazing resilience, and
yeah,
wish
yes,
to take risks, and believe and self-esteem, and of course people who believed in you, so you could
yeah.
achieve so much in your life. And I really wish that so many people could be inspired by role models like you,
Thank you,
and
buddy.
really not just to surrender and feel like, okay, now I have went through this and that, and how I can proceed in my life, and to have some limitations. People believe some things, and always two ways: or you can transform the painful experience and to level up like you have done,
Yes,
and to make even better purpose to live in and to help others, instead of always finding the offer why that somebody is kind of guilty in this situation. Nobody is guilty. We all
yeah,
suffer at different points, but some people, they really choose then the whole life, remember how to connect and just really further like prolong all the suffering, and but some people like, yes, okay, this has happened to me. Yes, it has already happened. But people, I mean, every single day, if you continue to take risk and to live further, right? So somehow, but I don't believe somehow, it's still, I don't believe in coincidence, but in God. God send you this Uber driver, God send you Ivana, God send you me, God
yes,
send
he did.
me to you, right? And now we're becoming new friends. It's also amazing, because who we are inside, we are still the same person. Yes, we're transforming, we are shaping, we're like we are testing all the time by circumstances, right? And like you have experienced your disease, and they said just 2 days, right? I also sometimes suffered from depression, and I believed it was just for a couple of days, but now after
Really?
so many days, I have, yes, I have got the diagnose, and now we are talking about neurodiversity, OCD. I have official OCD diagnosis, and now I also try to even use a wider lens, how I can now help with all the suffering I've been through. Not like sitting, okay, I'm so poor, I have diagnosed. Sometimes I really have like bad days, my mind is really attacking me. But how can I do something for other people? Maybe if I'm just go and be open myself, but my storytelling that people call also be inspired. Say, oh, you see, she also has this challenge, but she put her together, she created something, she transformed this painful experience, overcoming
Yes.
obstacles, right? And that was actually my next question to you, and last one before we have our tradition. Now it's gaining more and more like attention about this fancy word like neurodiversity, but it's
Yeah.
not fancy anymore. It's actually neurological diversity. Just that we process the our brain, my brain, and many people already. I could just see. I'm exactly like you. Actually, when I got the diagnosis, I went to Google and I was like, okay, who is from famous people,
You did.
right? They have the same, like you
You
said, like
did. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, Bonaparte, yeah,
Who did you
Napoleon.
find, Valeria? Who did you find? Who did you find?
OCD, for example. Okay, I've been like a little bit about Hollywood now, but now it's like Robert Redcliffe,
Wow.
for example.
Oh, I didn't
And
know that.
okay, and I just wrote thought
Interesting.
neurodiversity, and now you have no. It's a lot. It's Spielberg, and first he came and made it official was Sir Anthony Hopkins. He had the autism. He had
Wow.
autism spectrum, right? And then it's Kira Knightley, it's Uma Thurman, it's so many of us really has this special uniqueness. I don't want to use the word weakness, uniqueness. And of course we know that the film industry uh, and the film industry's way towards diversity and inclusivity has been a long and challenging way. We know that for much of
Yeah.
cinema history, representation both on and off screen was predominantly limited to a narrow demographic,
Mhm.
right? Behind the camera, directorial and production roles were
Yeah.
overwhelmingly dominated by white men, and we know that, leading to a very homogeneous perspective and storytelling. I'm so happy to know, even now, I know a little bit more about your film and your crew. I'm so happy to see that you are amazing master of finding and pull together
Thank you.
really brilliant minds from all over the world. Just in this group, we are sharing, like we are from
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
all
I
countries.
can't really give a lot of details about the project because
Uh,
I'm in a legal battle with the
yeah.
writer. But all I can say is this: is that I heard from an Academy Award winner. He has 5 Academy Awards. I forgot his name, but he said a film project has like a life of its own. A film that gets made has a life of its own. People rally around the project. And unless they rally around the project, it doesn't get made if enough people believe in it and get excited about it. If only 1 or 2 people look at it and say, oh, that's okay, it's not going to get from that point. But if people say, wow, this is something, the next person says, wow, it's something, I could do this. And another person says, wow, I could do this. I could do this. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of people could do stuff. And guess what? You can make a film. That's how
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
make a film.
That's, I mean, the importance of diversity in film industry cannot be overstated, right? And what is
Yeah.
your, and then if you should marry this to definition neurodiversity and filmmaking, how your perspective, how you
That's a
uh
good question, Larry. You know what? I got something from a film investor in Geneva because of my banking pedigree. When I came into Hollywood, I realized, wait a second, they like a banker here too. There's a place for a banker. I told the Academy Award winner, I said, Steve, I don't have a lot of skills in Hollywood, but I noticed they welcome a banker. He said, they sure do, Gary. Welcome to the magical kingdom, he said.
mhm.
I said, yeah, yeah. There's a place for a financial executive producer. So I started to exercise my flex with that. You know what I mean? And it helped yesterday at the meeting with Geneva and stuff like that. It's slowly coming together. But um, as far as the movies, I was just working on that one. I was just going to do the one for Ivana. That's it. I wanted to be a film producer when I was in high school, but I thought to myself, I didn't go to film school. I'm not rich, like super wealthy. I don't know anybody in the film business. How am I going to do it? But I really wanted to do it. I really was in my heart to do it before I died. Like I wanted to be a stockbroker when I was 15, same thing. So here I am 6 months ago when Jonathan said that, it was like a whole life flashed before me. Like, wow, like when that guy said, what do you want? And stuff like that. Like after I passed the exams, you have to understand, it's like, I came from the very bottom, so it was like I hit these plateaus, do. And I started to say to myself, why should I listen to anybody that doubts me? I've proven them all wrong. They said, he can't do that. I did it. They said, nah, he'd never do that. I did it. They said, Gary, no, I did that too. So I stopped listening to people and looking to other people for what I know I am. That's what the isolation helped a lot, Valeria, is that it's good to have family and friends and people. Yeah, the people. Everybody wants the people, the family. But I'm going to tell you something. When you're alone, okay? Remember I said left, right, up, down, nobody's there? You're isolated. The good thing about that is that there's only two people there. There's you, but guess who else is there? It's
Mm.
just it's just you and God. That's it. That is the silver lining of isolation. Want to talk about overcoming the obstacles? I could even find a silver lining in that, in isolation. That's why I don't understand. That's why it appeals. God damn it. It's still recording. There we go. When I find people complaining about things, oh, so that, and it's not really a big deal, I say to myself, you don't understand. People are suffering out there. You woke up and you were complaining about your bed today. There's somebody sleeping on the sidewalk that wishes they had a bed. You're complaining about the food you're eating. There's someone I know who's on my soundtrack that hasn't eaten in a month. They haven't eaten in a month. I made it a point to have everybody on the soundtrack be people that no one gave a chance to. There's an Indian guy who's writing songs for us. No one ever gave him a chance. He has 1,000 songs for movies. I gave him a chance. My cousin Danny, everybody passed him over. Even Def Jam, he's going to be on the soundtrack. I'm giving him his chance. All the people that said, no, Gary, you can't do it. And all the people that said, no, they can't do it. I'm going to show them they can do it too. They can do it too. So it,
Absolutely.
to kind of sum it up, and I know you're going to like this, Valeria. I want to talk to you many times, and I can't wait to come to visit California. I can't wait to meet you face to face. Here's the thing. Walt Disney, okay, on the film stuff. And next year, folks, we're going to have a big year. Familathe Films, Genome Films, RGB Studios. It's going to be fantastic. We just purchased a studio in Belgium, the group I'm with, MVI. I didn't tell you, Valeria, we purchased a studio in Belgium.
Oh,
I found out yesterday.
congratulations.
I found out yesterday. Jonathan's like, Gary, we bought a studio. I was like, we bought it. You could have told me we bought a freaking studio, Jonathan. He said we at Belgium for pennies on the dollar, our first studio. I was ecstatic. And my son Victor is going to do an internship in the gaming department next year when he graduates at MVI. So it's exciting. It's kind of all the pieces are coming together. And then I met you and the Ukraine thing, and you just have to go with your gut. But I'll tell you this, and I'll leave you with this. Walt Disney, he used to write comic books. You know, he used to have write little comic books. He had a little mouse character called Mickey Mouse. He was a nobody, honestly, in Hollywood. Nobody knew who Walt Disney was. Nobody cared. But Walt Disney, Walt Disney Company is the biggest entertainment company. That and Netflix is pretty much the biggest entertainment company in the world, with their resorts, their media, their streaming platforms. Disney, they're a force to be reckoned with. Um, Walt Disney said a quote one time, and I like everybody to hear this before we cut out of the podcast today. Thank you so much for having me, Valeria. Um, he said, Walt Disney said, if you could dream it, you can do it.
Can do it. Absolutely. I remember it was not that long ago. I actually was
Do it.
watching biography, and I was okay. Of course, all his achievements, like and a lot of barriers, like yes, nobody believed, but he has started from just table and everything. Yes, but I also was actually impressed by his private life because. I don't know if you're aware that he has one kid with his wife, and they have adopted another girl. So
Oh,
he, yes, he was also a very nice person. Oh, and okay, he was a bossy little bit.
mhm.
Let's this way, but at the same time, if like if you really want to achieve something, sometimes you really should make decisions and take them and make responsibility, because otherwise it's double edged sword. You should lead the process, especially if you really want to be the first one, right? So yes, you should combine all these qualities. And actually about this, so my last question before we wrap up, because it's
Yeah.
our tradition. So actually we came smoothly to Walt Disney and his fairy tale about Aladdin and this magic lamp. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not three wishes. I cannot grant three wishes, but if it was just one wish I could grant you today, what would it be, Gary?
That my son doesn't have to go through some of the things I had to go through, and that he doesn't make some of the mistakes that I made. Um, I think any man that's worth anything would probably, and a woman too, would look to their next of kin. And I know you have kids too, and you said you were cuddling in the bed with him the other night. He's 17 now. I can't do that anymore. But I can still hug him and stuff. But it's something about it. The next generation. I mean, I'm 52 years old. I mean, Victor, and he's just entering the scene. Do you remember when you were 18 years old, Valeria? So much pressure and so much, the future and so much going on at that age.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant wish. Of course, we are parents. We love our kids, and it's natural. We believe and we want them not to make really troubles where gave us so much pain, but at the same time it's our experience which has shaped us as we are now. So and
Yeah.
actually we cannot take them from their actually mistakes. We also know that, but at least if they allow us to be their friends and to be not that far when they have this experience, so it would
Mhm.
be very
Yeah.
nice. So
Yes,
thank you
ma'am.
so much, and a brilliant conversation. And I'm sure when we meet each other in life, not just through the podcast, but then because I'm not Italian, but I am sharing six bloods, and also one of them is very high temperature blood. So I love sitting and talking and using
Oh,
just I
okay.
can.
Do you like garlic? Do you like garlic?
Oh, I love garlic. Oh my
Oh,
god.
okay, we're gonna get along just fine.
Okay, yes, yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, Gary, thank you so much for sharing your fantastic
Thank you
remarks.
so much for having me. Yes, yes. I'm now the thing next. Looking ahead next year. I'm starting to feel a little better. I haven't had an infection in a long time. I put on about maybe 10, 15 pounds when I wasn't feeling well. I'm going to get back out there walking. I was walking 6 miles a day, and I want to get back to that. So the emotional parts getting better, the mind, things like that. Next is the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, of course, for our listeners to tune in into Diversity is the Game Changer. And remember, diversity is not just about where we come from, it's about how we come together to overcome obstacles and create something extraordinary. And until next time, take care and stay inspired. And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
all.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.